Hello everybody, my name is Tanya, and today we're going to talk about A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. So A Tree Grows in Brooklyn was my December pick, the lucky last one of my Booktube Recommends Project for 2015, and this was recommended to me by the lovely Heather from Logical Betty, and I absolutely adored this. So a lot of people have read this book already, so I'm probably just going to be repeating things that you've already heard. I seem to be one of the last people to have read it, but A Tree Grows in Brooklyn is one of those kind of American classics that everybody seems to have read, that everybody seems to love. I've heard just so many fantastic things about this book over the years, and I think it is all warranted because I absolutely adored it. So Tree Grows in Brooklyn follows the story of the Nolan family, and in particular Francie Nolan, who is a young girl, and her struggles growing up in the slums of Brooklyn in the early 1900s, and it's very much just a story of the family and their lives and their struggle with poverty and Francie's coming of age. And I said in my January wrap-up, this is very much just a quiet, wonderful story. There's not a huge amount of action. There is a lot that happens in it, but it's not like an action-packed, fast-paced read. It's just a lovely, quiet story of their existence, their lives, their struggles, their trials and tribulations. There's some horrible, tragic things that happen in this. There are some wonderful moments that just make you smile and, just warms your heart. And throughout it, I loved these characters so much. For something that is so quiet and just so understated, it is incredibly compelling. I just was completely hooked with this one. Every page just makes you smile or makes you sad, and I think it's a book to elicit strong reactions in terms of feeling joy with the characters, feeling sadness with the characters, and really getting drawn into that world. And so it's done with an air of simplicity. It's not, fancy writing. It's not fancy gimmicks, action, and everything happening at once. It's just a story about a family and about a young girl and what life was like for them. So obviously there is a large age gap between myself at this age and Francie when she is, when the book starts. But I felt like I lived this with Francie, and I grew up with her reading this book. And I think that this would be a great book to read at a younger age. For all that there are some deeper and harder topics covered in this one, I think to be reading at an age that you're kind of growing up with Francie and really living along with her and getting this picture of what life was like in that era and what life was like in that kind of poverty. Like, I have been very lucky in my life, very blessed. We didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up. There were definitely times that we went through, not being able to afford extra things, but I never felt wanting, I never felt lacking. And while my parents maybe struggled with that a little bit more and kind of going from payday to payday, I never felt bereft in my life. I always felt comfortable and happy and safe and not wanting for anything. And so I have been very blessed. But Francie and her family, on the other hand, often have to go without. They can't afford a lot of life's luxuries, and at the same time they've created such a wonderful home and they're proud of what they have, and they have made this life around what they are and what they can afford, that I think is lovely. Now, of course, it's not all sunshine and roses. There are a lot of tragic things that happen in this book too. And there are characters that you wish you could shake, but at the same time you can't help but feel for them too. And I'm just going around in circles saying it was wonderful and I loved it, and you should all read it now if you haven't. And I definitely feel like I'm one of the later people to finally have read this one. I think too, in America it probably is more a staple growing up. Here in Australia maybe it's not quite so big, but I definitely think it should be because it was a joy. Although it did happen to be recommended to me by a fellow Aussie, so there's that. So I don't think I've really said all that much more about this beyond what I did say in my January wrap up, so worthwhile review video. But I just would really encourage anybody who hasn't picked this one up yet, who hasn't thought that they would enjoy it, I would definitely recommend this one, as maybe if you're just very much for action-packed reads where a lot of things happen in quick succession, then maybe this isn't for you. But if you enjoy, quiet, just studies of life and, coming of age stories, I would highly recommend you pick this one up. and I don't think you will regret it. As that was the last book that I read for my Booktube Recommends project in 2015, I absolutely loved doing the project in 2015. It got me to read some books that I've been on my shelves for a very long time. It got me to read some books that I'd never really heard of, that weren't on my radar at all, and others that I had never got around to purchasing but had, wanted to read for a long time, like A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. And it was just an incredibly rewarding experience. I got such a great variety of different books recommended to me, and I would definitely recommend. I know that there are a lot of people doing it this year in 2016, but I would definitely recommend anybody who has seen me already do the Booktube Recommends project and been thinking about it, I would definitely encourage you to do it. I think it was a wonderful experience. So if you've read A Tree Grows in Brooklyn or any of the books from my Booktube Recommends project and want to chat about them, let me know in the comments. I will link all my other reviews that I've done for the Booktube Recommends project down in the description if you're interested in checking any of those out. And if you've got any questions at all, please let me know. As always, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!